So you thought that ROG is done with making keyboards for the rest of the year? Nope. What I have here with me is the ROG Azoth X, their newest 75% wireless gaming mechanical keyboard. And it debuts their new V2 switches, which is both ROG NX Storm and ROG NX Snows. And the variant I have with me is the ROG NX Snow V2, which I think it's the most goated switch that ROG has ever made for themselves. It's pretty good for both typing and gaming. But let's talk about the keyboard first. So tri-mode connectivity, standard affair. You can connect it via wire, Bluetooth, and 2.4 GHz via their proprietary dongle. Just like the original Azoth, you can find the dongle right on top of the case. This is the new Omni receiver, and it's using Speed Nova technology, which is ROG's way of creating a very fast, low latency connectivity between your system and your peripherals. So if you happen to have an ROG mouse as well, you can just use one dongle to connect both that mouse and the ROG Azoth X, and it doesn't compromise on the latency or the response time or speeds of your gaming peripherals, because I know when it comes to gaming, speed is everything, right? And before I talk about the design, the rest of the package is actually pretty neat. So it comes with a nice silicone-based wrist rest, followed by a braided USB Type A to Type C cable, a dongle extender, as well as both a keycap and switch puller, which is pretty useful because this is indeed a customizable hot swappable keyboard using traditional mechanical switches, so you can switch it out to anything that you like. Alright, so now the design. So it's still pretty much an Azoth, it's just that it's primarily in this whitish gray color scheme, and the eye-grabbing element is basically the keycaps. So right now this is their new Stellar themed design. So it's got some nice black on white action with some contrast in between, which are the elements like the space bar, the control, and the enter key. Pretty weird looking layout, right? It's not like your standard 75%. And the design of the keycaps, it's like semi-pudding, kind of pudding. And that translucent design will pretty much just bring out the RGB, because that's what buying ROG is all about. The RGB lighting, because you're a gamer, right? This is a gaming keyboard, so all of this definitely makes sense. The PCB now has south-facing RGB LEDs. So that is something that I've been asking for many, many years. I think not just me, I think a lot of people. Finally, they've listened to us, and this is the way to go. So you can definitely see that it's going to be very, very bright, even in pitch black darkness, which is pretty much what a gaming keyboard is all about. As usual, you will have two angles of elevation, one which is your standard size, which will pretty much be like this, and if that's too high for you, you can swap it out to the inner ones, which will give it just a very slight elevation for some people that will like it, and either way it will pair nicely with the wrist rest. Keycaps are diced up PBT, by the way. Pretty good design choice. No more ABS BS that we see on the gaming keyboards of yesteryear. It's pretty important stuff. The OLED screen is still there, very prominent, along with the control knob that you can move up and down to configure various options, and the button there to help switch between modes of configuration, so you can customize like the brightness of the OLED, the brightness of your RGBs, and also your multimedia playback, and of course your volume. So this is still a pretty useful, pretty neat feature that I come to see even since the original Azoth. The choice of materials for the case is pretty standard, just like most gaming brands of today. So the top is aluminum and the bottom is still plastic. And I guess these mixed materials does produce a certain kind of typing sound. But speaking of typing sound, ROG still pulled all the stops. One, it's still gasket mounted, and there are 5 layers of dampening foam in there. And what that entails is that, yes, those 5 layers of dampening foam does affect the gasket, so you don't really have any flex at all and no bounce even when you type. It's just a very sturdy keyboard that is just very, very solid. You really don't feel any gasket here. And yes, that is a turn off for some people, but if we look at it in hindsight, that is the whole point of ROG making a customizable keyboard. It's customizable. All you need to do is just unscrew the top housing, remove the number of foam that you like or don't like, and put it back, and you'll get that bounce back in no time. I think this is just also because, it doesn't make too much sense to put the Poron foam separately and force you to open up your keyboard and customize it from there. They want you to experience how it sounds when it's stock, because this sounds more like a decision they made because they're confident with just how it sounds with everything installed inside, even though there is a gasket mount indeedy. So before I head into the sound test, this is the ROG NX Snow, and I personally feel that this has a really good amount of torque. And following up with the south-facing RGB LEDs, the switch itself also has a transparent layer right in front so that the RGB light just goes upwards with together through the switch. That's pretty good. So it's kind of semi-transparent housing. It's got a nice torque to it. I can definitely feel that the loop process was evenly distributed, and there is really no scratchiness at all. Really, absolutely not. Even if I'm going like really low like this, you know, like as though it's a Hall effect keyboard. But yeah, I really don't hear any scratchiness. I can pretty much say that the factory really did lube these switches pretty well, and I don't really hear that a gaming company pay attention to such a tedious process. You can definitely lube these switches on your own. Unlike the original Azoth, it doesn't come with a tub of lube as well as the brush, and not even the switch opening tool. But I believe people who are into customizing their keyboards and lubing their switches, they already have these tools. The AzothX just aims to be a keyboard that has a good typing experience as well as a good gaming experience. So let's listen to the sound test real quick. So as you can hear, it actually has quite a nice level of torque across all typing angles, and it's very, very nice and satisfying to type. And I definitely know that that also translates to a very nice responsive experience when it comes to playing games. It does have a pretty nice experience, and if that's not fast enough for you, you can enable speed tap, which is a feature on certain ROG keyboards that prioritizes the most recent input when two opposing directional keys are pressed simultaneously. So if you're a competitive player, you definitely know what this means. If you're pressing two opposing directional keys, your character isn't going to stop, but it will just prioritize the last key that you press. And this makes the process a lot faster because it will prioritize the last key that you pressed, and you don't have to release the previous key. I mean, it's just meant to eliminate the time gap for counter strafing and to improve your accuracy. To some, that is a competitive advantage. It's kind of similar to Hall effect, but not really, because this is a software solution and not a hardware solution. This is really meant for gamers who still prefer the mechanical switch experience compared to magnetic switches. They're not ready to make the switch and still get some competitive gaming advantage over their mostly magnetic switch player counterparts. So I get it. Of course, why wouldn't you love the mechanical switch? It's been there for us for like decades. And finally, the software experience. Yes, we definitely know that Armory Crate is there for you. You can install it and customize everything as per usual. Right now, the new benefit is ROG GearLink. So GearLink is a browser-based web app that allows you to customize your ROG Azoth X to nearly its fullest extent. Nearly because one, it's still in beta, and two, the updates are gradually rolling out. So you don't have to download any more new software. You can just customize your Azoth just using GearLink, and you don't need to sign into any accounts or anything. Just plug it into your computer via wireless or wired. Allow your browser to make those hardware changes in the permissions, and off you go. You can customize everything just like that. And I feel like that is really the way to go. So well done, ROG. You made GearLink, and you made GearLink good. That's the most important part. I no longer need to rely on Armory Crate, and I definitely don't need to update anything. The web-based app will update itself and push all those updates on its own. So that is a clear benefit that I see and recognize. I hear you guys, and I think that's a pretty good move. This is going to be costing well over 1,000 ringgit, and in terms of gaming keyboards that are commercially available by brands, this is pretty high up there. But you know what? So was the first Azoth, and if you pay double, you're getting the ROG Azoth Extreme. So this is still a well updated ROG Azoth. It does pretty well for itself. It's a pretty nice keyboard. It types well, it's incredibly fast and responsive thanks to Speed Nova. Both general users who want to use it for work and playing games will enjoy themselves, and competitive players are not missing out on future forward features that you see on Hall effect keyboards. You can only blame the hardware so long, right? Skill is still pretty much the more important determinant on whether you win games or not. So there you have it, guys. I'm Zen the Geek. This has been the ROG Azoth X, and I'll see you guys in the next video.